Welcome to the What to Play podcast. We are your hosts, Jacob and Lucas. Lucas, how's your day going?
It's all right. Productive. What about you?
It's doing well. Lucas's mic might be a little messed up. But that's okay. We'll power through it. So let's first begin with the news that happened this week. Frank Reich was let go. He became the first head coach to be fired in back-to-back seasons. You can see why there was no offense. There was no motion. They had no speed. Adam Thielen was the only guy that could get open. They could run the ball, yet they deterred from it so early. It was an interesting decision. They went with Chris Tabor as the interim head coach, the special teams coordinator. They have Jim Caldwell on that staff. I thought they would go to him. But they also fired two assistants, Deuce Staley, who is the running back coach / assistant head coach, and they fired Josh McCown, was also fired, the quarterback coach. I mean, David Tepper has shown that he has a quick trigger, and now where does he go from here? But what did you think about the firing?
Well, I was kind of excited because I predicted it last week that Reich was going to be fired first, and he was. And the reason being wasn't necessarily because it was going to be the right move, just because that's how David Tepper is. I don't. My thinking is like if you're a Panthers fan, you're thinking you're getting the Detroit OC, but if you're what's the OC's name again?
Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
He was their quarterback coach, moved to OC a couple years ago, and has done some great things.
Yeah, if you're Ben Johnson, you're going to have every coaching spot available in the offseason. I don't know why he'd go to Carolina. I doubt he would because he declined it last year before. Like, he was offered the position before Reich. So why would he accept it this time? So I don't know. Who are they going to get, you know?
It's got to be someone who's willing to work with Tepper. That's what it is. And a lot of people said, well, what about Dan Quinn? I'm like, he ain't going there. That just doesn't make sense for him to go there.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe Ben Johnson, he pulled his name out of the hat last year really early on. Maybe Kellen Moore. Maybe it's got to be someone who's young that's willing to work with Tepper.
Right.
Who can expect that the next thing is, are they comfortable working with a quarterback that's under 6 feet tall?
Yeah.
That's really where it has to go from here.
Whoever you get, if you're David Tepper, you got to get someone that believes in Bryce Young, obviously. So that'll be part of the interview process.
The one that I was shocking about was I thought the defensive coordinator for the Panthers, who I like, Alvaro, he was with the Broncos last year. But if the Broncos would have just scored 19 points a game, they would have been like 9-1 at one point. I thought he was going to get the job. And I went with Chris Tabor, who's been around, but he's a special teams coordinator. You've seen those guys work in the past. Rich Versace a couple years ago. Maybe it worked. I don't know. All right, let's move on. The Jets have opened Aaron Rodgers' 21-day practice window to return. Rodgers has been practicing the last couple of days. But it leads me into this question. Should the Jets start anew if Rodgers does not come back this year? Rodgers has said that Week 16 could be possible.
I just don't understand the logic. Like if the Jets are going to be eliminated by that point, why risk re-aggravating or tearing the ACL again? Just heal up for next season.
I think, well, it was an Achilles, first of all, but I think the team's not good enough. Offensively, they're a mess.
Yeah.
They don't get down the field. Their offensive line is a dumpster fire. And like your defense, who has been decent, can't really has some struggles as of late. So I think there's a questions of that too. I just don't see it happening this year. In the terms of should they start anew next year? No, because you just you've just sent a lot of picks and cash to Aaron and the Packers. You got to keep this group together.
Yeah.
So let's move on. I put this down, and I really should have said, who's the MVP you got? But I put down way too early MVP. Because, and I can't answer this because it's so, like the numbers all say Dak's the guy. All the numbers look that way. He's either first or second in every category. But due to the fact he may not win the division, they won't give it to him.
Right.
So it's like I don't know how to just answer this. So I'll give the floor to you. Who do you think is the MVP?
I don't hate Dak. I know if you give it to Dak, everyone's gonna give shit because like beating team. Well, the Seahawks are above 500.
Yes, they were before
that
last
would-
night's game. That's correct.
Yeah, so that would be the argument. Oh, they're not anymore after that loss.
So, no, now they're at 500. They're at 6-6.
Okay. Where does Jalen Hurts sit at odds for MVP?
So he's the top. Then Mahomes. That's probably all name value. Then it's depending on
Mahomes is definitely name value.
Depending on where you look, it's either Lamar or Dak, but they're pretty much interchangeable.
Okay. I mean, I'd probably just say Hurts. Best team in the NFL, and he is a big part of it. That win in Buffalo, people are gonna give shit because of the refs and they weren't making calls or whatever, but that's every football game you watch. So I would say Jalen Hurts. Who do you got?
Well, for the numbers' sake, and I said this before, numbers say Dak. He leads the league in touchdowns. Josh Allen's the second guy to that, but he has a bye week this week, so it won't swap back and forth. But I agree with you. I'd give it to Jalen or to Lamar Jackson at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't give it to Mahomes. To me, like in his career, he's probably gonna win it so many times. Like this year, he doesn't. He's not the best quarterback. So don't just give it to him because he's Mahomes. I'd
Right.
find that to be
Well,
pretty
that's what I was all saying. I was like, can you? Because I feel like if Dak was to win his division, you could say that because the numbers all point to him.
Yep.
But like if he doesn't win it, that for whatever reason means that he's not the best quarterback, which I don't understand how that's a correlation. But anyway, I digress. So this is the Brady's comments. Tom Brady made some comments this week calling the NFL with mediocre play in terms of quarterback play, in terms of not allowing a defender to really use his hitting the quarterback or hitting anyone because now it's always a penalty. Which, before we go into it, I just want to say, well, Tom, you had 3 careers essentially. You had 3 different decades. The rules changed in 3 different decades. You took advantage of them, which everyone should do. But what do you think about comments about mediocre NFL play?
Yeah, I agree with it. I don't know why everyone's taking it so personally. Like I saw Alex Smith like I don't know what show it was on, but he like tore into Brady about it. He was like, you were in the easiest division for 20 years, whatever. But like that argument makes absolutely no sense because okay, sure, you can say that you got an easy 6 wins or 5 wins, whatever, but in the playoffs you're facing the best team. And if you're won 7 times, like Super Bowl 7 times, I don't understand how that's an argument. But I think like if you watch the video, what Brady was talking about was like now defenders have to worry about how they hit the quarterback when the quarterback for the longest time was the one that had to worry about how the defender hit him. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't the defender's problem, which I agree with. And that's a unanimous thing that everyone agrees on, that it's stupid that when a D lineman tries to sack the quarterback but he lands a little bit on him, it's a penalty.
Well, I think you saw it last year, the game between the Raiders and Chiefs. The Raiders get bailed out before halftime because Chris Jones kind of grabs him, doesn't put all of his weight on him, yet they throw the flag for roughing the passer. And you're like, well, what do you want me to do? You saw it also last year with Grady Jarrett. Gets Tom, and he doesn't swing him. He kind of just rolls with him, and they call roughing the passer. What do you want a defender to do? And he's right. The defender should not have to worry about if the quarterback is safe or not.
Yeah,
That's not his job.
I'm not sure if people like just didn't watch the video and just saw the headline. I don't understand why this was so like I can't think of the word, but people had such a hard time with his comments. Like what he was saying, like everyone agrees with that. Yes, it's stupid that a defender can barely sack the quarterback because there's so many rules protecting him that doesn't even make sense. It ruins the game. So I don't know why it was so like a shock to people.
I think it was a shock. And first of all, he's 100% right. But I think it was a shock because everyone said, we know it is. We've seen it. The hits, the big hits, we don't see anymore, or not as much. But I think the rules are going to change again in the next 2 off seasons because points are down this year. They're just down. And so the defenses have proven that they can compete a little bit, which will mean the rules change again. Because the NFL does not want that. They want to score points.
Yeah.
And we can have that whole argument another day, but that's what they want. So Tom's not wrong. I think it's interesting that he's the one that brought it up. But also, who would you rather have to bring it up?
He's a good spokesman.
Exactly. I think really any retired quarterback is a good spokesman for that, or any retired player, because they know what it's like.
Yeah, but especially the greatest quarterback. Probably got a
Exactly.
good idea.
Exactly. Playing in 3 different decades, that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Let's move on. The Steelers offense had 400 yards. First time in 59 games. I was trying to think. I couldn't even remember who the offensive coordinator was, but Big Ben was still there. That's how long ago this was.
Right.
They had 400 yards of offense and still only scored 16 points. We got to get into that another time, but yeah, hey, makes sense. Throw the ball to Kenny Pickett. Throw the ball to Pat Freiermuth, and let's go. Let's not waste time.
Yeah, it was definitely Matt Canada was definitely a problem, and good thing that he's gone. But I do believe Kenny Pickett is still an issue. Like the Steelers, not all the Steelers' problems are just gone now that Matt Canada's gone. They still got plenty of things to work out.
No, I understand that. I think Kenny Pickett needs some time. I will say that. I think they need somebody who can be the offensive coordinator. Also, make sure Kenny Pickett does not wear those gloves again, because I don't know if you saw that on Twitter or Instagram. He looked like he was wearing the gloves from Hamburger Helper. Like, good Lord, Kenny, give him some black gloves. Get this kid something. That's what he does at the end of the day. Goes plays the game and then go cook Hamburger Helper.
Yeah.
Not bad gig. Let's move on to Marcus Peters, and I'll include this. Marcus Peters was released by the Raiders. Zach Ertz was released by the Raiders. both free agents, both willing to sign with a contender. When you heard this news, what did you think?
The Raiders are cleaning house, I guess. Getting rid of the. Well, they got rid of McDaniels, and they got rid of. Did they get rid of some other coaches, or was it just McDaniels?
So, from my understanding, it was just McDaniels and their
Okay.
GM Ziegler.
Oh yes, that's who it was. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Mark Davis is kind of taking it seriously. He wants a contender. Raiders haven't been serious contenders in God knows how long. I mean, they were good when Derek Carr was in MVP talks, and then he broke his leg at the end of the season. But that was a long time ago. So I'm glad.
Well, I don't know
I
how
like the
serious he
Raiders.
is. He was talking about potentially bringing John Gruden back.
No, well, yeah, that'll be
So,
interesting.
I also want to make this clear. Both Peters and Ertz cleared waivers. They're just unrestricted free
Oh wow.
agents.
Okay.
So I assume they'll sign with, like, Peters, I would assume signs with a team like San Francisco. Ertz probably goes back to Philadelphia.
Yeah,
That's probably what
especially
will happen.
didn't they lose God?
So Goddard has a forearm. He cracked his forearm. The hope is he plays in the game against San Francisco. If not, maybe the
Okay.
game against Dallas.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Dean Blandino made some interesting comments on the Rich Eisen show this week. Rich Eisen, who also works for NFL Network, has been there since 2003, asked Dean, there's officiating problems, and we all see the officiating issues. Why is it so bad? And Dean Blandino went and said, it's because of replay. We can slow the game down to a certain point, which I do understand. Everyone's going up so fast. But in replay, we can see and we can stop the play. However, he also said that when Eisen pressed him and said, well, why don't you just use more replay? He said, no, because it ruins the confidence of the officials. So I don't know what you want. Because as much as you want to say the Eagles play a great game, and they do, and they find themselves on the winning end, that's great. I mean, Josh Allen getting dragged down by the back of his jersey, not getting a call, and the referee's right there.
Right.
And another one is they're hitting the defenders, the wide receivers early, no call. There's a clear play in the overtime where Diggs gets grabbed. It's
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
understand you can't see it, but I understand it's also a dangerous slope if you use replay. But at some point, if baseball's figured this out and you're behind baseball, this is a problem.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter. The ego shouldn't be an issue, like reps' egos, if they got a play calls right or not. I mean, we get it. It's happening in real time. It goes quick. You can easily miss something. But with the luxury of replay, you should go back and fix it, have an expedited replay, and just fix it. It shouldn't be that egos should not be an issue.
Well, and I know Rich Eisen's been an advocate for this. He say, why don't you throw the flag, huddle up, allow New York to look at the play and say, no, pick up the flag, or no, that you're right, that's the flag, go call it. Why don't they do that?
Yeah.
It's very simple. It doesn't slow the game down that much. Because if you're worried about pacing of the game, it doesn't slow down. Why can't we do that?
Yeah, no, that doesn't really make sense.
Because, like, Gene Steratore was like, I can't believe that they didn't call that horse collar tackle. And, like, it's not just that it was a horse collar. He's horse collared back here, and he's grabbed in here. So he's horse collared twice and getting slung down. But they
Right.
called intentional grounding because he couldn't get the ball back to the line. I'm like, well, of course he couldn't. He's getting grabbed here, he's getting grabbed here, he's getting swung around. What do you want him to do? He's not a ballerina.
Right.
My answer is just, if you're going to throw the flag, get together. I don't know what you guys talk about in the huddle, but New York can go and say, okay, no, that's not a penalty, pick it up. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's just what I think. Moving on to Shaquille Leonard. Shaquille Leonard was released last week. Talked about signing with a new team. took visits with both the Cowboys and Eagles, left without a contract. Jordan Schultz took to X or Twitter, whatever we're calling it now, said Leonard took visits with the Cowboys and Eagles this past week, did not take a contract. Over the weekend, will make his decision. I want to make also note, these two teams play each other next week.
Yeah, that could be why he wants to. You can look at it as the Cowboys are Eagles, depending who you think is the better team, are the Super Bowl favorite. So it wouldn't make sense that he wants to see who would. Well, I mean, the Eagles, even if the Eagles would still be on top, right? Even if the Cowboys win next week.
So what would happen is, if San Francisco beats Philadelphia
Right.
this weekend, and when these two teams face off each other, if Dallas beat Philadelphia, they would be first in the standings. Even though they would have a tied record, they would have the second game, which has the tiebreaker, so they'd be on top.
Okay. Yeah, that could be what he's waiting for. That would make sense.
As I said, he's going to make his decision by the end of this weekend. So that game, and I just think if you're a Cowboy, can you really deal with, even if he's not the maniac anymore, can you really deal with him making a key tackle on a third down that makes you, or fumble that he punches out, and you lose the game if he's in Philadelphia?
Yeah, right.
Can you really live with that? So I think there's a little bit of that too. Nick Sirianni was in Indianapolis. Both Malik Hooker and Stephon Gilmore played with Leonard a little bit, or on the team, I should say. They have a good relationship, so it's either way.
Yeah.
I also want to make note, Zach Cunningham for the Eagles doesn't look like he's going to play against San Fran, so he might go there for more playing time. So let's move in. Justin Jefferson was activated off the IR after the game against the Bears, which was a terrible game. I almost fell asleep. 12-10.
Honestly,
no
I didn't
touchdowns
watch.
by the Bears, and they won. I mean, good grief.
Yeah, I
Hadn't
didn't
done in
watch
30
that one.
years. But Jefferson was activated after the game. And they'll head off into the bye. He'll be ready to go. And I predicted that this would happen. It just was logical. Even if you lost to Chicago, you gotta play Detroit twice. Doesn't make sense to bring Justin Jefferson back, then have him play him, then have him on a bye week. Doesn't make sense. Just bring him back after the bye and let him be fresh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we added Deshaun Jackson retires as an Eagle. He will be at the game, San Francisco, Philadelphia, this Sunday. It's also his birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday, DJ. I mean, this is probably the best way for him to go out as an Eagle. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Deshaun Jackson on a terrific career. There was a couple months ago he tweeted out that a cowboy an emoji with a cowboy hat on and an eagle emoji, and said this could happen, but didn't have any more specifics, and it never got further than that. But congratulations to Deshaun Jackson on a terrific NFL career.
If he went to the Cowboys, would he have played for every team in the NFC East, or did he not play for the Giants?
No, so he didn't play for the Cowboys, but he had a cowboy emoji, as if it was going to happen.
Right.
Never happened. So he played for Eagles, Washington, back to the Eagles. Eagles, Washington, Tampa, back to the Eagles, Raiders, and Ravens.
Okay.
I think that's the entire rundown. And well, let's first do this. So as we record this, the Thursday night game had wrapped up. the Cowboys end up beating the Seahawks 41-35 in a game that, thank God they had Dak Prescott, because otherwise, the way he's been playing, I mean, you don't win this game without him.
Yeah, I mean,
I do
I-
want to make note. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I didn't get to watch the full game because I was gone. I was busy for most of it, but I was surprised it was as high scoring as it was, and I was surprised with like I know that the Cowboys have faced criticism when it comes to playing teams above 500, but to respond to the 30 to beat a team that puts up 35 points is pretty impressive, and that probably shows that they're legit this year. If anyone had any doubts.
You have to, first of all, they were not good on third down. Too many third and shorts. DeRon Bland got beat twice for touchdowns. Should have been 3 times. JSN almost had it. Ball slides out. Incomplete. A lot of penalties. Not thrilled about it. Al Michaels was not thrilled about it. But Dak made the key plays. CeeDee Lamb had 17 targets for 12 catches and a $116. Like, everyone was making plays. The Seahawks talked a lot of trash every time they made a big hit right in your face. I like that. Dak said, okay, yeah, all right, fine. I'll push you over and let's go get a first down. It's like, oh, okay, sure. But I did like the Seahawks were feisty. They needed this game. Even though they didn't win, they needed it. They got it. It was a good game all around. I was impressed with how DK looked, especially early on. Can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, it was a really good game.
Next up, Texans favored by 3.5. Take the Texans.
I
got
don't know.
CJ
Yeah,
Stroud. I like Denver. I like what they've done, but I got CJ Stroud in this.
I got the Texans too. I had to think about it because I mean the Broncos have been on a good run, but I think the Texans they got too much firepower.
I have the Texans winning 30-20.
I'd say 28-24.
Right. Next up, Browns versus Rams. Rams are favored by 3.5. Rams are trying to go and get into this playoff run. If they win, due to the fact they have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks, they would take the 6th place in the wild card round, which is 6th.
Oh wow.
So I like Rams in this. Stafford's played very well. Cooper Kupp, he's out there. I don't know how healthy he is, but he's out there. I have Rams winning this. I like the Browns defense a lot. 24-17.
Yeah, I don't. I do also have the Rams. I think Matt Stafford's played really well, but I don't see it being a high scoring game just due to the Browns defense. So I'd probably say 17-13 Rams.
I will also make note, we don't know if Dorian Thompson-Robinson plays in this game. It could be Joe Flacco.
Which would be interesting.
And last game, 49ers versus Eagles. The Eagles are home dogs, plus 2.5 when I wrote this down. What do you think? I have a biased opinion. What do you think?
I'm gonna say why are the Eagles not favored? First off, how does that not make sense?
Because Vegas doesn't trust how they've played. And besides the game against Buffalo, they haven't really faced anyone consistently on offense. And San Francisco has played well on offense.
Just because of the odds, I'm gonna take the Eagles. I'd say 31-28. I'm hoping for a good game.
I'm hoping for a good game too. I'm taking San Fran on this one. I think the one thing that's going to struggle, we don't know if Lane Johnson plays in this game, the tackle. He had a groin
Yeah.
issue. I think at some point, this offense, the Eagles, has to be better. They can't rely on being down 10 points at halftime and consistently come back and win the game. Because, let's face it, you're not going to have Buffalo making all those mistakes all the time with this team. The San Francisco team's too good. And there's questions of this Eagles team, but I don't even think San Francisco covers, to be honest with you. I think they win 31-30. But I take San Fran in that because I don't think the Eagles can keep up. But also, I want to see what AJ Brown can do against Travis Ward. That's my key matchup.
I do kind of hope deep down that the Niners win just for the stakes in that Eagles-Cowboys game next week.
I mean, I'll tell you what. I was watching that game last night. That tug on a couple of heartstrings, that probably took like 3 or 4 years off my life.
Right.
I'm heading into if the San Francisco wins against the Eagles and the Eagles head into Dallas, that's probably taking another 5 or 10 off my life. So if I can make it, I'll just try and slide through. This stretch of Dallas is like tough. It's San Francisco, it's Eagles, it's Buffalo, it's Miami, it's Detroit, and it's like, oh gosh, I'm gonna take 20 years off my life.
This season.
Say what? I can't see how. Like I think if the Eagles, because it is possible for the Eagles and the Cowboys, even if if they don't lose to this game, like I just don't know how possible it is because Eagles still have to face Seattle after Dallas, and then they got 2 games against the Giants and Tommy DeVito, not the guy from Goodfellas, the guy from New Jersey that lives with his parents.
Beat the Patriots. Not that that's
yeah. Well,
whatever.
It's more of your kicker not doing his job.
Well, no, he did his job. He was trying to secure the best pick in the draft. I wanted him to miss it. So.
Keep him on the roster. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Keep on missing 35-yarders. But I can't wait to see this San Francisco Eagles game. It's America's game in the week. Burkhardt and Olsen will be on the call. But I want to see what this 49ers offense can do against this Eagles defense. So, this is the end of episode 2 of the What a Play podcast with Jacob and Lucas. We will see you all next week. And we will get better at this as it progresses. But for right now, I'm Jacob, Lucas, and we are out.
All right. See ya.